them being the farmers' issues, land being one, the biggest one, just because I mentioned the 407. And another thing I think he was going to talk about is some student loans. The student loans had a set off or offset the student loan. The information is in the package as well, but it's apparently Rob's been getting phone calls and emails from people who are actually successfully using the process to pay off their student loans, and I think that it's a pretty good indicator that something is working there. So success stories are always nice to hear. The land thing, on the other hand, I mean, we've got, he mentioned the Maori in New Zealand, and how they're going to be taking back their land in 10,000 of them at one big fell swoop. And I think that'll be pretty amazing and precedent setting for pretty much anywhere else in the Commonwealth. Yeah, so I think that we're almost ready for Rob to come back on, because I really don't have much else to say. So,
It's it
Rob.
for Chris, man.
Thanks.
First time on stage, he was a little bit concerned about coming out here. But I told him, with dimples like that, why worry? You can get away with anything with dimples like that. If you got dimples like that, you don't need what I'm teaching. What's that? Is that your problem there, Chris? Is that what you found?
Well, they're there,
Okay, what I want to talk about, what we're going to start with, I had the honor and the opportunity to speak with some of you when we had our little break and our wonderful dinner. All of this food, incidentally, well, all the burgers, that's a gift from that Rick guy back there, the grumpy Santa-looking guy. And other people brought some other food, some of the tasty sausage. There, we got a sausage maker in the audience, apparently. That's what life is about, eh? I think you can pretty much... So if you want any really good sausage, talk to this guy later. He's got cards. And where's them chocolate bars? Are they all sold?
Nope.
Tasted really good. Dude, there's only like 14 left. They're $2 each. A young girl needs to sell those. I'm going to hold you all hostage and until those chocolates are gone. So if you got a toonie in your pocket, you're finding one. I'm buying one. Okay, who here has their birth certificate on them? Pull it out. Let me show you something amazing. I'm going to show you how we discharge student loans. Once you understand that, I will show you how you can use the exact same process to deal with a number of different issues. Oh, and he's got to be difficult. Who's got a standard one?
That's not right.
That's what you want, isn't it?
That's what I wanted. Okay, now come on up here, Flora. You didn't know this was going to happen, did you?
Okay, this is...
Okay, now, if you got a birth certificate, pull it out and let's look at it. Look at this. What do you notice strange about it?
strange.
Besides the fact that they got your age by 10 years off.
Province of Saskatchewan, I have nothing strange. A lot of numbers, I don't know what they
Do you see where your name is?
Case.
Do you see how everything on here they identify as to function? They've got your name here, they tell you name, function, birth date, birthplace. Everything they put on this document, they identify as to function, except for the number on the back. If you're born in Ontario, you might find that number in the upper left-hand or upper right-hand corner. Quebec also. Some of them, let's look on the back of yours.
I don't have anything on the back.
Especially, yeah, that's the one. I'm looking for some older folks.
Oh yeah, you got it in the back.
No, yours is right there. It's the number they don't identify as to function. If you were to look at Rob Christie's, what's yours say? Nope. Looking for someone who has green ink on the back of theirs. If so, you're the big winner.
The lottery, yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're done?
You were done. Rob Christie's on the back. It's the same number. It's in green ink and it says Treasury Use Only Revenue Receipt. That number is in fact a bond tracking number, or They might say, no, it's not a bond tracking number because they've got a different word for it. It might be just a monitoring number. Essentially, what they did when you registered as a child, whose was this? Thanks. They crafted and created a bond. They float this bond on the international market. This bond generates revenue every year. You've heard of the federal transfer payments. Your federal representative is transferring money to your provincial representative. What that number represents is an account. It has money in it. It represents your share of Canada. Look at the value of Canada. What is Canada as a landmass worth? Who owns it? You do. What portion do you own? That portion evidenced by that number. The Federal Minister of Finance is acting as a fiduciary agent in trust over your account. When's the last time you told him what to do with your money? Never. You've been ignorant of it. His obligation then is to transfer it under the Financial Administration Act. As a fiduciary, his obligation is to transfer it on a yearly basis to a registered representative, your provincial government, hence the federal transfer payments. Neither of these parties would have any right to touch this money if they weren't acting as your representative and in a fiduciary responsibility. Because you never tell them what to do with it, they have to take this money, and their duty then is to spend it in a manner which is a benefit to you and your society simultaneously. They can spend it on your highway, they can spend it on roads, they can spend it on hospitals, they can spend it on education. But they get to decide how it is spent within this framework. You have the right, under what we found with the student loans, you have a right to order the Federal Minister of Finance to take this money and, instead of transferring it to your registered representative, to put it towards your student loan, to put it towards anything that is a benefit to you and your society simultaneously. This entire election thing, what they're doing is who gets to play with your blocks, who gets to play with the money that's generated. It's your money. These are your representatives. You've got a right to tell them, no, I have a right. You use a notice of understanding and intent and a claim of right. Specifically with the student loans, Canada is a signatory to a United Nations covenant where they acknowledge post-secondary education is a right. It's necessary for the development of a free and just society. It would be made equally accessible to all, and in particular with the progressive introduction of free education. They have given you free education in the form of a student loan. The student loan can be discharged at any time. Read the Student Loan Act by way of a discharge or a set-off. Discharge is when two people, one party owes this guy $10, this party owes this guy $12. Guess what? You do a discharge. This guy now only owes $2. That's when two parties are in agreement that there are two debts. A set-off is even better. A set-off, you don't need an opposing debt. You just have to claim there is a debt and let them try to dispute it. And the set-off is a deduction where the debt may or may not exist, but you're willing to claim it does. Because you have this available to you, essentially what it says is if the federal government owes you any money at any time, this money can be used for your student loan. And they love this section. They use it in income tax time all the time. These students think they're getting money back, and suddenly they don't. Their refund is grabbed by the government, and it's paying towards their student loan. You have the right to do this at any time. Because of that number, they always owe you money. These bonds are generating a lot of money every year, and you can use this money to pay for your student loan. You discharge it. We've had phone calls. A woman called in and said, yeah, I want that whole student loan package. I want a package. And we asked, well, where'd you get this information? Well, there was a girl at work who had gone through it, discharged her entire student loan, and now this woman was calling up. No convincing was required. She wanted it for her nieces and nephews. We got another phone call from a woman. She just wanted to invite me to a party because she had phoned up, asked about her student loan, the status. She went through a process. They told her, well, your student loan has been discharged. She asked, can I get another one? And in a very snarky tone, she was told, well, you discharged the last one. I don't see how we can stop you. This is how they gave you your free education. It's kind of like they put a dish on the buffet. They've covered the dish with the tablecloth, and you walk right past it, and they get to say, oh, well, we put the dish on the buffet. Technically, they've done what they were supposed to do. And then you just walk right by it, and you never even look at... How many people here have a driver's license and never even read the Motor Vehicle Act? How many people here have a social insurance number, never read the Employment Act? You get into this stuff, people get a student loan, they never read the act. They never look for any remedy, they just start arguing and complaining about how they're owing so much money, and they never look at the act under which they begged for the assistance in the first place. The process for this is the same process you're going to apply to anything, because this money can arguably be used for anything that's a benefit to yourself and your society simultaneously, and is recognized as a fundamental human right by Canada by virtue of their signatory on a covenant. The covenants that Canada has signed to recognizing as human rights, they're pretty basic. You have a right to education. You have a right to travel. You have a right to food, shelter, health care. You have a right to access to the courts. You have a right to engage in your political actions within your government, within your society. These are all of your rights that you have. You cannot try to use this money to go to Vegas, hire hookers, smoke crack, and feed the machines. That's not a benefit to one of you. You can't use it per se to build a big castle and claim, oh, this is the shelter I need. There must be limits there that you can argue and say, listen, this is what I have. If you start looking at whether or not do I have a right to buy an Armani suit, or do I have a right to go to Value Village and just get the basics I need? If you are going the low end, no one can stop you. If you try stretching it, eventually they're going to say this is not clearly a benefit to both. And you want to find the path where it's clearly a benefit to both. Paying off your mortgage. Ordering your mortgage paid. Done deal. Anytime you get an order, this has been used successfully by people to pay off court orders where they were ordered to pay to file income tax, and because they hadn't, well, they weren't ordered to file income tax, but they were ordered to pay $1,000 per charge for not filing. And then they never even tried ordering them again, but it came to $4,000. They used a bill of exchange drawn on this account to discharge this, and it was zeroed out. This is your money, folks. This is your country. We are all equal. Who do you think owns it? How do you think they evidence this ownership? How do you think they get the right to play with your money if not through this? And if that's not the case, why don't they tell you what this number is for on those documents? People they use deception. If you shine the light of truth on their deception, ask them questions. In the student loan program, I don't suggest you just run out and say, oh, I heard this guy and it made sense and I love what he's saying, so I'm doing it. There's due diligence that you must engage in. The first step is you write a letter to your MP, your MLA, the guy I'm telling you is your fiduciary agent, and ask them to deny it. Say, are you willing to deny this under your oath and upon full commercial liability? If they don't, you ask them a series of questions, and you say, you answer these questions, and if not, I do, and we're both bound by these answers. Because of this it's law. Because of this process, and it's beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, that's why I'm laughing.
I know, and it's so simple. We knew the law in grade 3, grade 4. We've been forgetting it since then. In grade 3, you knew how to play King of the Hill, tag your it. You knew that if someone called you a poopy head and you didn't say, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off me, sticks to you. If you didn't deny, come the time when you're playing recess, everyone's calling you a poopy head, aren't they? Because you didn't deny it. You knew the law, and this is simply a process of law. You're trying to get to a point where you can express an understanding. If this understanding is a result of you asking them questions, they refuse to respond, you then say, here's the answers, and we're both bound by it, and then from there you serve your notice of understanding. You say, listen, Canada has signed and acknowledged that I have a right to this free post-secondary education. Deny it. Tell me how. They have done everything they could, and the way to get them is you don't go after them and claim, we have this right and you have failed. You go at them and you say, we have this right and you have succeeded. Way to go, thank you very much. And let them say, no, we have failed in our duties and you don't have free post-secondary education yet. They can't do it. They've given it to you. It's right there, but you have to educate yourself enough to go and grab it. This same process can be used. It's very simple. It's a notice of your understanding, a notice of your intent, a claim of the right to do this. You serve these basic things on anyone who might be affected by it, anyone who is demanding payment, and I don't care why they're demanding payment. I don't care if they're a collection agency. I don't care if they are a bank, a court, a government agency, whatever. You're going to find the exact same process, the exact same steps will bring you to the remedy you seek. You serve your notice of your understanding, a notice of your intent, operate upon a claim of right, and you will find a lot of these demands that they're making, thank you very much, it's paid. And you are not harming, you are not ripping off, you are actually doing something that is extraordinarily beneficial for your society. You are taking us out of debt and you're creating a stronger and a more dynamic society where we have power over the government and we're not feeling like we're being crushed.
Right.
Here, here.
Yes. Absolutely.
Is that number on the back of the birth certificate, does that in any way tie into the SIN number?
No. No, your social insurance number, I believe, is entirely separate, and what it does is it puts you into the realm of being a government agent or employee, and you've done so, here's my bond, take care of that. So
does this apply to an immigrant who's a Canadian citizen?
if you can vote,
Yeah, Canadian citizen.
if you can vote, then that number exists, or if it doesn't, if that right doesn't, the right must be there. That's what citizenship must entail. And yet, if it's not clearly there, it's still your remedy is going to be serving a notice of understanding and intent and claim of right. And claim the right as an immigrant. Say, hey, I'm just as Canadian as anyone else now. And the way I look at it, all of these boundaries, none of those are made by God. Those are all made by man, and they are all meant to divide us and to keep us separate.
But if the person's a citizen, then it applies.
I would believe that it would. Although there's another argument that says only those who are born here would have a right to this claim, that otherwise you might be able to make a counterclaim. But personally, if I had to choose, I would defend, if I was an immigrant here, I would claim the right.
Benefit to society.
Yeah, I would claim the right.
Do you forego health benefits if you
No. Bear in mind, they have a duty to provide you with health care, and if you craft a notice of understanding and intent that covers that and says you have a duty to provide me. See, they talk about health insurance and how you must have health insurance. They cannot deny you health coverage because you don't have insurance. All they can do is maybe get a different way of paying for it, but you've got every right, craft a notice of understanding and intent and say, okay, I'll pay for the insurance, but the payments are coming from this. Or payment for the health care itself is coming from this. And what I've done before is I've secured services from them. I broke my elbow. I said, I don't have health insurance. I don't intend on getting it, but you're welcome to bring me a bill. And I asked them for a bill, and none of them wanted to hit me with a bill.
Just from that statement?
Well, I told them I don't have insurance, I'm not getting any, but I'll pay for it. If you give me a proper bill, I will honor your bill. And I figured I'd pay for it. It was my own stupidity, I'd pay for it. But none of them could actually and lawfully give me a bill because they have a fundamental duty to provide the services anyways, and what they're doing with the insurance is just finding double payment. They're getting you to pay for something that you can achieve by way of a claim of right. But instead you're applying for insurance.
This is really important, Robert. Myself and a pile of us are. I got to pay about 120 bucks every time I see a medical doctor because I refuse to take drugs, so I have to.
No, because you have not served a notice of understanding and intent and a claim of right. That's why you're doing that.
Okay, so if I, what would I have to do? Like this is.
You would have to craft a notice of understanding and intent and a claim of right.
Privately, so. Basically, we can.
Dude, if you, yes, and if you're starting with the concept that we have to pay, then that's where the game is starting from. You've already lost.
For future appointments.
Yeah, well, I would serve them a notice of understanding and intent. Bring them to the place where you understand, yes, you're going to be paid. Essentially, you're not avoiding payment. All you're doing is you're accessing an account that you didn't know you had access to prior, and you're going to be writing, instead of a check on a bank account, a bill of exchange on this account.
Thank you. That's very important. So
which account would this be? Is your citizen?
Yeah, that's bond tracking number, or the what's the other thing they call it? It'll come to me. Yes.
Do you sell these packages? Do you have a package that deals with these loans?
Yeah, the student loan package is specific in there, and it explains it all.
All different loans and bills and things like that?
No, I mean, again, if you are in, say, someone was asking me about credit card debt, would this apply to credit card debt? If that credit card debt was a result of you going out and, living high off the hog, then no, it has to be something that you can point to and claim this is a right, a benefit to me, a benefit to my society, and it's acknowledged by the government of Canada here. When you have all of those, then yes, you can. And if you had your mortgage paid off, any orders that came at you by the government or by the courts, your education was all paid for, at what point do you start saying, okay, that's pretty cool, I'm willing to work now, and I don't expect it all given to me? I think that's huge, to get to the point where we just recognize we don't have to pay the banks 3 times over for our house. We can discharge it right off the bat and do it immediately.
Simply by that understanding?
Well, it's the claim of right. You want to get to a point where you have a perfected claim of right. That's going to be the house that you want to build. A notice of understanding and intent, that's the foundation you build before you try building your house, because as Jesus said, you don't build on sand. It'll fall.
Do you need passports?
I don't know. Whether or not, it depends. If you go to some countries, they are going to be operating from a perspective where if you don't have one, you're going to be hooped. The question is not, do you need a passport? The question is, do you have to go through the government to get a passport? That would be a better question. You can craft your own passport. Who says you can't? Who gives you the passport you have if not your representatives? The power that they have to create these passports is only the power that you originally gave them. It's a matter of whether or not that's going to be accepted by the country you're going to. Historically, letters of invitation, a family Bible, has always been suitable for passing through, and getting back in the country as a free man, no one can stop you. And they can't stop you from leaving. It's a matter of whether or not you can get into another country and whether or not they'll recognize your passport.
The common law country would be okay.
And because you've got the power within the Commonwealth anyways to serve notice of understanding and intent, claim of right, and bind them just as well. If you're a free man on the land in the Commonwealth, who says you can't bring that status anywhere?
Who is part of the Commonwealth? What countries?
New Zealand, Australia, there's Barbados, Jamaica, there's a whack of them.
Anywhere they have a lieutenant governor or governor general.
Yes.
Okay, so the states wouldn't be part of it?
No.
Don't have a governor general there.
That's what I figured.
But they do have common law, and a lot of the remedy that I talk about is available to people down there, and they certainly have a bond tracking number on their birth certificate.
So if you're saying that the bond is producing money every year, what would you estimate would be the value of that on an annual basis? Has anyone calculated that out?
What was looked at, from what I understand, someone did a study on this to try to figure exactly that out. And what they found was that based on one birth, the value of the treasury increased by about $1.2 million. Now, one second.
That's over a lifetime? Or
no, because that's just at birth. Essentially, what supports the bond is their belief that you will be taxable later. So anything that increases their rate to tax you is going to up the value of that bond. When you get a social insurance number, they can increase the value. If you graduate from high school, it increases in value. If you become a doctor, it increases in value. For a doctor, that bond might be worth $50 million, and it might be generating $5 a year. What it does basically boil down to is your ability to be taxed, and it represents your ownership in the country. So if you were to look at the value of the country and then divide it by the number of people, then you would have a very good rough estimate as to the value of that bond, the fundamental on the market value of what that bond is. Divide that by what you could get, say 4%, and you're looking at pretty much what it's generating. But it's generating, dude, every one of your bonds is generating at least $1 million a year.
So where's all the money going?
Dude, look around. Look around. Look around. It's going into the politicians' banks. It's going into their lifestyle. It's going into their roads, their system, their bureaucracy. I mean, they're looking at, look at how much it takes to get you to beg for a license. That's what it's going into. And if you stop feeding this thing, if you start taking control of it, you stop feeding the beast that you're complaining about anyways. And that's the best way to fight it. Just stop feeding it.
Stats Canada does the calculations.
For what?
Everything.
For the number of people in here, and it'd be easy enough. I mean, from what I understand, we're worth a couple of trillions of dollars, hundreds of trillions of dollars, really. And that's just what we have easily accessible within the next 10 or 20 years. If you look at the full thing, I mean, we're totally rich. We're immeasurably rich.
Can you go up to...
Yes, I can.
an office and find out the present value of that bond?
This has been something that a lot of people have been trying to do,
right.
And yet the best way to do it is with a notice of understanding and intent and a claim of right, and you apply the value to it.
Yeah, if they don't respond.
Why not?
Can you take control of the administration of that account?
Absolutely.
How so?
It's only your representative doing it. It's your fiduciary agent doing it, your fiduciary trustee. They're acting with power of attorney. You fire them, and you lay claim. The problem is this. People put money into it, essentially. They want a safe place to put their money. They don't really care about the interest. They just want to know it's going to be there in 10 years. This is a safe place to put it because you're not personally in charge of your own account. It's kind of like you have a mat and they're all tied together. Because it's working as one cohesive thing, it's a safe place because one will support all the others. You cut yours off, you might have claim to that, but then they might say, okay, well, I want my money back now.
Right, okay.
You've used the word trustee. Would you mind explaining? I think I understand it already because I've heard it explained before, but because you've used that word 2 or 3 times, could you maybe explain to them that the act of the trust, they've actually set this up as a trust structure? Yeah,
it's a trustee account. A trustee essentially has the highest duty of care, either in law or equity, to the person that they're acting for. They are given something of value, either something in financial or a right. It can be either something tangible or intangible, but they're holding it, ensuring that when you come back and say, here, give that back to me, it will be in the exact same state that when they gave it to you. This is why when you have to apply, say, for you want to upgrade your house, you got to go get a permit to do additions. The reason is you registered this property with someone who is now a trustee, and you put them in a position where they have to ensure that they can give it back to you in the state that you gave it to them. It's like if you're a trustee of, say, someone's record collection. Yes, you can listen to it. Yes, you can use it like it's your own. But one scratch on it, you're liable. So you're better off really just putting it aside and not even touching it. You do have the right to access it and use something as your own, but when someone comes and asks for it back, it better be there ready for them. This is the trustee relationship. Am I close?
Yeah, it's just the trust is actually you. You are a part of that trust. Like the trust has 3 separate entities to it: the trustee, the benefactor, and
and it can actually only have 2. A trust you can have a trustee and a trustor, where one is just trusting another. Hi, I'm leaving for a bit. Here's my kitten. Feed him, take care of him, kind of thing.
Hey Rob, we were talking last week, and I wouldn't mind getting this on tape. How it works that you can drive a car without a license, ownership. And
First, stop using the word drive.
Oh.
The term drive implies that you are engaging in commerce on the highway. You aren't engaging in commerce on the highway unless you're a taxi driver or you're engaging in carriage or you're delivering pizzas or something. Otherwise, you're just traveling. Well, the trick that they get you to do is, again, you voluntarily register your automobile. It now becomes a motor vehicle, and now you can be a driver and you can make money on the highway. But you don't have to do that. If your automobile is not registered, and you, again, do it under a claim of right, do that with a foundation of a notice of understanding and intent, and your automobile is not a motor vehicle, it's not covered under the Motor Vehicle Act, and therefore you're not bound by that Motor Vehicle Act, and you're not a driver. Historically, a driver was engaging in commerce.
What if your vehicle is registered? Is there any way to unregister?
Yes. Anyone? Anyone?
The letter of understanding?
It's the same thing.
Thank you. Every step of the way, every time, it's going to be the same thing over and over. You just serve a notice of understanding and intent, a claim of right, and serve notice of deregistration.
I was going to ask you, do you know of anyone here in Ontario who is driving around with an unregistered vehicle and has managed to...
Use the proper words.
What is the proper word?
You're traveling in an automobile or you're traveling in a private conveyance, and yes, there are people doing it.
I actually put the sign on the back of my car that you suggested, not for hire, private conveyance.
That's good.
I haven't stopped yet, but...
Well, serve your notice, and the other thing is, if you're out there in a vehicle or in an automobile and it has no plate whatsoever, they do have the color of right to stop you to ensure it is not stolen. So you don't want to try to fly under the radar. You're flying right through the radar saying, hey, I'm friendly here, don't shoot at me, and if you do, here's my fee schedule, nah. So you have a plate on there so they know who you are, so that if they punch that in, they at least know who you are and they know your status. Otherwise, you're just inviting the conflict, and you don't want to do that. You want to take the moral high ground.
But you have to register if your vehicle is for business then.
Yes, if you are making money on that highway, because it is publicly owned property, for the very same reason they can't stop you from traveling on it without a license, they can demand that you do have one if you're making money off of it. And I think that's the way it should be. Otherwise, you would have corporations ripping that thing up and just leaving devastation behind.
What's with those blue license plates I'm seeing on your website?
That's the Freeman plate, yeah.
And that's what you would put on your vehicle?
Yep, on my automobile.
Can we get them from you?
We are looking at doing one of these, but it's not a matter of just putting this plate on. You have to go through the process of making sure it's an unregistered automobile. You have to serve notice. You have to make your claim. If you've gone through that, then we would end up making sure that you have one of these plates. You can choose your numbers. It gets registered in there so no one else can choose those numbers. And then if we monitor you going through this process, what we would do is send you a little metallic sticker, kind of like your registration stickers, so that the cops would know that not only has this person gone through this process, but they've got a witness in the form of a notary public, and we're done. We can't even touch them, because otherwise it's going to be abused. And one of the worst things you could do harm to this movement is to have people come out, start abusing it, young kids, and then the people would cry for a change, and they would cry for a change.
Like the abuse of the handicap sticker.
Yeah. And you know, the freedom is a result of accepting greater responsibility. So it's a matter, you're not going to be able to get away from it without that.
I just want to go back to the birth certificate and the boss number on the back. Is that traded on the open market?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because they're using the money to invest and get back the investment.
And we have no say over that. I mean, it just happens.
Of course you do.
Wow.
That's what you just said.
Typically speaking, we don't know.
You've never tried, have you?
As long as they're not in the corner.
That's the only reason you have no say, is you've never found your voice. You find your voice, you will find they have to respond. They're your fiduciary agent. They have to accept your directives.
Okay. Now, the letter of intent, understanding, and so forth, for each situation has to be crafted.
Call it a notice. A letter can be ignored.
Okay. But it has to be crafted differently for each situation. We can't just blankly have one notice.
I would agree with that, because every situation is going to be different, but you can craft a fairly comprehensive one that should be able to cover just about anything you think you might have to deal with.
So it's finding that information to actually have it jotted down on paper. I'm waiting to see.
The
information that's crafting this notice. Trying to find the words to say to put into it.
Again, it's going to be your understanding. So
You got it in your book already.
I do have it in my book, but your understanding, your notice of understanding, it better be something that you can articulate and defend in a proper court of law. Otherwise, they're going to catch you with your foot in your mouth, and you're just going to look silly. Yeah.
It's as simple as saying, I realize that whatever, and just what you notice and understand, you're making a statement of that.
Well,
you're putting it forward.
I'm saying this is where I stand. This is what I believe.
It's as simple as that.
Essentially, this is what I firmly believe, and this is where I'm standing. And you can't move me just by ordering me, because we're both equal. You go stand over there if you want. That's your belief. I'm standing over here.
And the intent is, if you come and move me, then.
Yes.
And the claim of right.
The claim of right supports my actions to engage in defending myself. So if they do come, they can't charge me, and they can't really lay claim that they're the ones with the moral high ground. And that's what it really is about. You get the moral high ground, you look at them and say, we can't fight, sorry.
Just putting them on notice, basically.
Yeah.
I put my lawyer on notice last week.
Oh, man.
You wouldn't believe, after like 3 weeks of phone calls and no calls returned, typed out the letter, faxed it in, you are now on notice that if I don't have an answer from you by close of business, so I think I gave him 24 hours, I will be taking this further. There's my intent, and I had every intention of following it out. Bam, he's on the phone.
Oh yeah, notice counts. They can't. It's information presented that they can't claim ignorance of, and the letter they can.
Once you have a claim of right, is there like a rules of delay or something that's acceptable? That okay, from like once I have my claim of right, like is there a certain that like after 10 days or so, like okay, that's final, there's no response or something? So that's
No, once you have a claim of right, you have a claim of right. But then what you want to do is take that, and you want to be able to stop the cops from coming at you, or the government, or whatever. So you're seeking a estoppel. Permanent estoppel by acquiescence. The evidence, you take this to a notary public, you say, here's my claim of right, this is what the entire process is, no one has disputed it every chance they've had, and you get a notice of estoppel. And if the cops try stopping you, you show them that, and they are barred from bringing any action.
For that, you should have, like, you should give notice and have a certain respectable delay to get a response.
Yes, you have to give them fair opportunity to respond.
Okay, so there's like a
14 days is standard and good, and no one can bitch about it.
all right. Okay.
Is that something you print in the local paper, or the government?
There's a number of ways to serve notice, and again, that's in the book. Everything, personal delivery. You can post it on their door. You can serve it publicly by way of in the newspaper. If you can put it in the newspaper, that's always best, because part of this is to stand against these people in a public manner, so that people know that they're not alone, and that let them know you're not scared. So yeah, if you can get it in the paper, do that.
How is that serving the notice? That's now public notice. It's not that direct notice to someone. What if they don't read the paper and they don't see it there?
That's not my fault.
That's their fault for not reading the paper. It's public knowledge.
So you just keep a copy and there's your hard fact?
Yeah, but bear in mind, if you're thinking this, then you know, I mean, right there, you don't feel that you have served notice. So then you would have an obligation to take other steps to ensure that they do have it. The purpose of that notice in the paper is, it's not to get away with making sure that you can claim they got notice, but they didn't actually. You're not trying to get anything over on anyone. You just want that notice seen from even more people.
2 questions.
No, one at a time, buddy.
The one I have one question that relates to the people in your car. So, is there could an agent have any force, or could they do anything if your vehicle is not registered, registered, and you don't have a driver's license, and you just make sure that it's okay? You're not a driver, so the people around you in the car, can anything happen to them, or
what they will try to do is they'll try to say, oh, you're a passenger.
Yeah.
A passenger legally, if you look at any conveyance, there's three statuses. There's the owner, the driver. Yeah, the owner, driver, actually 4, passenger and guest. A passenger is someone who is on there and has paid to be there. So if I'm just in your car and we're going down the street and they try saying, oh, are you a passenger? And you say yes, now they will claim the right to affect you because of this supposed commercial transaction taking place. You tell them, no, I'm not a passenger, I haven't paid anyone anything, I'm just a guest and I'm exercising my common law rights.
That's very important to know. Okay. All right. Second thing, if you don't mind.
No, one more.
Okay.
We're all cold and everyone wants to, we're winding up. Okay, one more.
Okay, last one. Okay. The question is, if we have 200 farmers who want to start a cannery and we borrow money for building and equipment, and can we use the money from birth certificate for the loan?
Are you engaging in a profit-making activity?
It would be.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
The concept of profit goes against, it's not a benefit to your society if you're engaging in this for profit.
Okay, so if profit, then no.
Rob, you were mentioning something last weekend to us that I found quite interesting, and I waited to the end to see if you were going to cover it. Revenue Canada, how to opt out of Revenue Canada with your friend about the Revenue Canada book, the preamble.
With the lack of the preamble in the Income Tax Act.
I found that a 5-minute good story.
Yeah, it's an old story though, and it's on the DVD, and it's actually not as empowering now as the information about a notice of understanding and a claim of right being a lawful excuse, because now you can just tell them, you can tell all of CRA and every federal court that they could run to, no, 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 goodbye. It is that simple. Dude, who do you think these people are?
Yeah. We're conditioned for certain...
Aren't ya?
It's just hard to sort of...
grasping it all.
Thank you. And the sin is the same thing then. Every government thing, right? Okay.
Your first book that you wrote, is that still available?
No. My first book actually was called Registration Application Submission Means Drop 'em, Bend Over, and Don't Expect Lube, How the Government Really Gains Power. I was angry and big on long descriptive titles. I only made 20 copies of that. I ended up selling them outside an MP's office and an MLA's office because they weren't paying attention to me. So I went back the next day with these. They paid attention after that.
What's the name of your latest book?
What's that?
What's the name of your latest book?
My latest work that I'm working on right now is going to be called With Lawful Excuse, and it explains how to use a notice and a claim to establish lawful excuse to live your life where you have no reason to answer to anyone claiming to be a government agent or a court officer, provided you don't harm, damage, or use fraud.
Canada-wide.
Canada-wide.
When will that be available?
When I'm done it. I'm not accepting any timelines right now, no offense. Probably about a month or so.
What about car insurance?
Car insurance, again, that's a scheme. You aren't obliged to have it, although it's a good idea to have. And what we will be looking at with the Freeman Traveler program, you get 1,000 people. You get 1,000 people, you each put in $1,000. You now have $1 million in a trust fund acting as your insurance. You all share in that. You drive safely and responsibly. There's no accidents. That carries over the next year. It generates revenue for you. You share in that revenue, or you increase your pot, and you keep that there. If someone does get in an accident, you all pay, and then you top back up. But the guy who got in an accident, if he was stupid, you kick him out of your group. This way you pay $1,000 once, and if you're all smart drivers, that's all you pay for 10 years instead of $1,000 every 6 months, so you can support a bureaucracy.
1 second.
Dude, find 999 people and make it happen, because I'm busy. No, we're working on it. We're trying to get that arranged. We're actually talking to some people here in Ontario. It's a matter of having an administrator. And I can be a good presenter, but I am a crappy administrator for your affairs.
I volunteer.
Really? If you want to do it, they would generate some revenue. It would certainly generate, it would keep 2 people in an office well paid and busy enough over a year. I mean, you just collect even the interest and people would be happy to do it.
Oh, Mary.
Hey.
Okay, folks. Oh, where's little? Let's find Kareem.
Does it have anything regarding eminent domain?
Yeah, but the eminent domain, it's still the government laying claim, and they're shot down with a claim of right. Claim of right actually trumps eminent domain, I found.
What about the banks you're trying to start?
That you can already get access to. There's the SET system, sub-secondary electronic transfer, and you can get an account there. It's a good place to save your money, to store it. They do charge you 3% if you withdraw and deposit it into a bank, but if you take money from a bank and put it in there, they give you 3%, and you can buy just about anything through it. If you wanted to buy precious metals, it's the way to go because they'll deliver it right to your door. Yeah, and a 3% increase. So where's I wanted a little Kareem to draw. I'm sorry, what number is that?
That's
Is Kareem around?
Okay, well, this young guy, come on over here, young man. Okay, actually run over there, go get them chocolate bars.
Okay. I bought 2 already.
Pull out your toonies.
I bought 2 already, but here.
Okay. I'm selling them all out. He wants 2.
Here, just pick 2.
Go around. When all those bars are gone, we will pull a thing here.
Here we go.
That's how you sell chocolate.
There you go, yeah. Remind them what this draw is for. It's for a free package. Somebody already has the package, they can put the number back or take one.
So, what did I get?
I'm having too much fun. Yeah, but.
Is that a whole different topic? Like
What's that?
revoking the sin? Is that
No, you abandon it. You don't really revoke it. They would. You serve them a notice. Hi, I'm letting this go.
just like that?
Just like that.
I thought in the
Are they all gone?
Yep.
You're the man, buddy.
Look at that. How about if you choose in the application?
Thank you, folks.
All right, there's 4 more of these boxes in the front. We're going to do it again.
Hey, little man, come here. I need your help still. What's your name?
Glenn.
Glenn. Let's have a round of applause for Glenn, folks. Because you know what I realize? In order for us to succeed, when this young man is 18, he better be living in a better society than we have. Reach in there and grab a ticket. Oh, you got one. Oh, 2? I don't know that that's right, but they're both, someone bought 2 maybe. Read it off.
7, sorry. 3583.
Oh, 7-3.
Oh, it's 3583. There you go.
There's the other one that's probably on the same thing.
He wins a free Freeman package. So if you were going to buy one, you got a free one anyways. Okay, folks, we got more food. We're going to light a fire. We're probably going to have some dancing, and I'm drinking beer.
I'm dancing.
Thanks for that, buddy.
Yeah, no problem.
I've got one question here. I know
you have to let me wind down a little bit before I deal with any questions, my friend. If that's okay, that would be great.